Yeah, welcome to our new Gambia media talk show. Today is December 3rd, 2023. So today we're gonna be discussing about food safety in the Gambia. Food safety is a huge concern when it comes to our populace because the food reservation and the way the food is cultivated and then the way it's distributed are all vulnerable when it comes to food safety because of the layers that it has to go through and also because of our policies our laws in place. So we need to look at all those areas, and I have my co-panelists here. I have Sainey Mboj, Sister Sainey Mboj from Virginia. Sainey, welcome. And then
Hello,
I
hi
have
everyone.
Sam Ceesay, who is also a food safety director at his own, expertise. So Sam, you're welcome. So without wasting any time, we're gonna jump right into it. So food safety is a concern. I've been an example when I first went to Gambia. After spending 11 years here, I was really questioning a lot of ways that the foods were prepared and distributed and shared. You know, I started to, like kind of distance myself from some of those, but not forgetting that that's where I was raised. I mean, like I was I was born and raised. So not forgetting that I've been through that myself. So now that I know so much about, food and food security and safety. So I'm able to really question those. So I'm gonna open the floor, Sam and Madam Boj. We wanna come in.
Yeah, I'll let the ladies first. I'll let her
Ladies
say
first,
something that she wants to
always.
say about food safety. So, and what
No,
she
it's a
believes.
very good, it's a great morning today, in Virginia and the USA. Yes, it's a great pleasure every time having my dad's uncle to discuss about issues that is really should be supporting and helpful to our community, our society, most especially back home, because we all know here food safety is one of the priorities of every city and every mayor or the president and its citizen. They take it very seriously. But back home, sometimes we are very much negligence of certain things that we should avoid because now we have lots of issues regarding people battling their lives because of viruses, because of they are not eating food that are good and they are caused by a lot of harms. So for me, I'm not an expert in that area. We have an expertise here today who all his life now is doing that job to make sure people, so it's important for people to be listening, and this is something that you can have a privilege to listen to what he's saying, and then you learn about it, you help yourself, help your family, help your community to get a lot of like how to save yourself in food safety. Just to add a bit with regards to my own side that I want to talk about is um we all see sometimes these vendors who are selling these chickens and like ebe. You can see it's just sad sometimes if you talk about these things because selling ebe, your ebe is not finished, and then you put it back in the fridge, you heat it again, you can sell it for 3 days, and someone or a kid like wants ebe and go and buy the ebe, and they eat that ebe, you know, the kid started vomiting or the kid started having infection, food infection, and so on. So all these things, like I always ask myself, even recently, LVH, they were selling expired foods. They were selling lots of expired food. So sometimes even now, Gambia, if you have to buy a drink, you have to pour it in a cup to check whether that drink is not expired or expired. But also, it's the responsibility of the citizen also when they are buying stuff, let them check the dates, whether it's expired or not. If it is expired, I'm sorry, you don't have to buy that. Give me back my money. Let me go and buy a food that is still okay for me to eat or for me to drink. But buying that because of you said you don't care, jams make balagman fat. I just cannot get that kind of phrase. So people have to be very careful when it comes to food safety because it's really disturbing Gambians right now. They are having a lot of, even if you're sick, They will advise you, don't eat these things, don't eat these things. But also, where are the National Authority of Food and Safety? What are the rules that they're doing? Because most of the Gambians here are suffering about this food poisoning and so on. So what are we going? It happened to me once. I came from Azerbaijan from the World Cup. I went to Max's eating a pizza, and that pizza was not a good pizza because it was there till yesterday. So I ate it. I got a food poisoning. I can never forget that. I almost paid 9,000 and Bowen's clinic because I was admitted there for 2 days. Because when I get to there, when they checked, they did test, they said you have food poisoning. So all these things, people have to be careful about it. I can lose my life in it, and nothing can happen. So we have to be really make sure. We have to make sure. We have to make this food safety, most especially the kids. Some women also are too lazy making food for their kids. How they make it carelessly. Even you found a water, or even drinking in one bottle, sharing it is not good. People have to stop it. So I will stop here and then give Sam because he's an expert here. So we have to listen more of what he's saying based on what he's learned. And yeah, everybody have your own expertise area. So this is your show today. So we have to be a very keen listener and then maybe ask questions about what we think should be done right.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mrs.
Thank
Rose.
you.
Thank you for that, and thank you, Mrs. Sawaneh. Definitely, food safety is in my heart, and it's something that I look at and preach every day, even at home. I see my children doing something, and I say, you know what? How about you do it this way? And here's why. And I'll tell them the reasons why. And in fact, every adult, anybody that's an adult right now, at some point in their life, have been infected with food safety. They just didn't know it because, especially in Gambia, we don't go to the hospital. We don't go to find out what happened. Why do you have that fever? Why do you have a diarrhea? Why are you vomiting? There's something that happened. And we all vomited when we were little, from being children all the way to adult age. There are certain things that happen. And these three things that I just mentioned are common symptoms of foodborne illness. Um, and unfortunately, I mean, this is a wide topic. It's a very wide topic, and it's deep. You can go deep into it, and there are certain things that don't apply to people, our day-to-day lives that we will go through. But it will be more for people in the restaurant business that prepare food, or anybody that handles that prepares food. But one thing that is for sure, in all over the world, food safety is food safety. It doesn't matter where you are in what country. You may call it different name. You may be using the metric system or versus the cubic system. Some countries are using the Fahrenheit and for temperature, like in America. And if you go to Canada, they will be using Celsius, and Europe will use Celsius. So it's just a matter of what do you use. But food safety is the same. Now, first things first, to look at food safety, what really makes food unsafe for people to eat? It comes into three different categories that really makes food unsafe. I will consider them, we call them food safety hazards. There are three types of hazards: biological hazards, chemical hazards, and physical hazards. I can break them down, but yeah, no, we won't have too much time for all this. There's a lot of stuff in there. But I'll just break them down to just a little bit so that people understand when I say biological hazards, other hazards uh, that are broken into four as well, four different categories, which are virus, bacteria, parasites, and fungi. All of these are dangerous. That can make people sick when they get food. Now, I won't get into the names of those. We won't have time for that. It's not going to make any sense for anybody. But I want people to understand just the basics. And when you go to chemical poisoning is all the chemicals, anything made out of chemicals, and all the cleaning chemicals that we use in our houses, in restaurants, that we use for cleaning. If they come in contact with food, it can be poisoning. They can make people sick very easily. And when I say chemicals, we know anything made out of chemical is considered chemical. So That is also deep. Then you go to the part that really impacts most of us is the physical hazard. Physical hazards are the hazards that really end up in food by the food handler, the person that actually prepares food. For example, a sick person that has diarrhea preparing food. There is a reason for the diarrhea. Something caused the diarrhea. It could be one of those symptoms. It is a symptom. Diarrhea is a symptom of foodborne illness anyway. It may not be foodborne sometimes, but most of the time it's foodborne illness. So when you have diarrhea, very, very important to know that that diarrhea is linked to a bacteria. Even though, like I said, we don't go out to the hospital, everybody doesn't go out to go check. It's usually linked to a bacteria, one type of bacteria that may have infected that food, and that person ate that, or that person got it from somewhere. Get infected with a bacteria. And some bacteria could be natural in people and in animals. So someone with the diarrhea goes to the toilet, use the toilet. I'll go to the nitty-gritty of this. Goes to the toilet and get done and come out without washing their hands properly, or they wash their hands but not properly wash their hands. Very, very important. This is one thing, if anything, I can tell everybody in Gambia, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands all the time with soap. Wash your hands. If it's in America, we'll say soap and hot water. Gambia, we don't have hot water in most places. So at least 80% of the majority of people don't have hot water. But at least wash your hands with soap. Now, because if you don't wash your hands with soap, bacteria and viruses are microorganisms, and microorganisms are things that nobody can see with their eyes, only through a microscope. So you can wash your hands and think that your hands are clean, but there is something on your hands that you're not seeing. And the bacteria that infected that person to get diarrhea in the first place is going to be in their feces. So if they wash their hands and their hands are not very clean, after coming out of the bathroom, you go straight to the kitchen and start preparing food. Anything that you touch with your hand will be contaminated or can be contaminated with that same bacteria, especially what we call ready-to-eat food. What is ready-to-eat food? Food that does not require any further preparation. A food that does not require any further cooking. So, which means food that's already cooked. If you cook your food and it's ready to eat, that's considered ready to eat food because you're not cooking it again. If you look at salads, you look at fruits and vegetables that we don't cook, all of those are considered ready to eat food. So anytime you touch any of those, because they're not going to be cooked, since cooking can destroy bacteria, but because they're not going to be cooked, the moment this person touches that with feces on their fingers, will contaminate that. And that means the next person that eats, or everybody that eats that food, can get sick. And their illness can be worsened for people that ate more of it compared to the ones that ate only a little bit of it. That's how it impacts. So washing hands is very, very important. Physical contaminants come from people, even as simple as someone preparing food and accidentally drop something in the food. Women that prepare food with very long fingernails or nail polish and things like that, and you're mixing a salad for people to go eat, and the salad is not going to cook. So they can drop that false fingernail in that food, in that salad, and pass it on to somebody else, or somebody will scoop out of there and eat. And that fingernail can go into that person's stomach and cause a problem. So that is considered a physical hazard. Even your hair dropping in food is a physical hazard. Anything dirty from your body or your hands that go into food while you're preparing food is considered a physical hazard. And that's why sometimes it's also important, people in Gambia, when you're preparing food, and even here, don't allow every single person to come to your kitchen and get into every single thing, because they could easily contaminate your food. especially food that is not being cooked. You make chakri at home. Chakri, you're not going to cook the chakri, right? It's already made that people are going to eat that chakri. You made nan buru at home, people are going to be eating that nan buru and it's not going to be cooked. So the reason I use the word cook there is cooking destroys bacteria. Yeah, cooking can destroy bacteria. If you cook food to the minimum required cooking temperature, and every food also has a minimum internal cooking temperature that they have to be cooked at. So this is all knowledge. It's not something that every single person is going to know. You have to really study this. You have to learn this. You have to really understand how it all works. That food safety is a special knowledge. It's not something that anybody can know anything about food safety. You will know the basics, but there are certain things that are in there because every single food, there's a different internal cooking temperature for fish compared to chicken, beef, ground beef, and turkey. So if you look at all of these, and even rice, if you look at all of these, and anytime we cook something, we have to have we really need to make sure we meet the internal cooking temperature. The good thing for us in Gambia, people in Gambia, is when they cook, they really boil the water, boiling the water, starting with that boiling the water, and then cook everything. And boiling will destroy the bacteria if there's any bacteria present in it. So cooking helps to destroy it. That's one of the things that saves people in Gambia. But the only problem is ready to eat food, and a lot of people can get sick from the ready to eat food that we prepare and serve people. And I tell you what, there's a lot of opportunities in Gambia. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. You think about one thing that we food safety experts and any health department will notice, we speak the same language, health department. So when I go to health department or a health department person talk to me and say flow of food, I know what that is. When I say flow of food, they know that I know something about food safety. So there are certain languages in there that only the ones that really know food safety will know that. But the reason I brought up the flow of food is food can be contaminated through 9 different steps. A flow of food means the path that food takes from the moment you purchase food, let's say restaurants, from the place they purchase the food, are they following food safety guidelines? That's the first question. So if they are not, there's chances are you, the one that is receiving that food, you can receive food that's already contaminated with bacteria. So from purchasing to receiving, storing the food, okay, preparing the food, uh, uh, cooling the food, the cooking part of it, cooling, reheating, all the way to serving it to people to eat. This is what's called the flow of food. And the flow of food, during the flow of food, food can be contaminated with bacteria. Food can go through what's called time temperature abuse because every food also, we have to respect food. This is what we eat. We eat food every day, so we've got to respect the guidelines. So uh, cold food need to be kept cold. There are couple of things bacteria doesn't like. Bacteria does not like and does not grow well in very hot conditions or very cold conditions. If you think about it, a simple matter to tell Gambians. If you want to be safe, keep hot food hot and keep cold food cold, meaning in the refrigerator or even frozen. Bacteria will not grow in the frozen conditions. Bacteria will not grow well in cold conditions. So that's why people have refrigerators at home to keep food in the refrigerator so that it will keep the food cold enough that bacteria cannot grow in it. Now, if I think about Gambia, when we in Gambia, the good thing that saves Gambians is most people, if you go up country, most people don't have refrigerators. In my old days, I had never even seen a refrigerator until I finished school. So thinking about that, what saved us there is the fact that our mothers cook food every day. They cook, they go to the market every day and come and cook fresh food. There was no refrigerator to keep anything in the refrigerator for 3 days or so. But so that is what saved us. We cook food, We eat it today and it's done. Tomorrow, we cook more.
But Sam, I have a question before you
Yes, go
pass.
ahead. Yes.
Okay, because if for instance, like if we cook the lunch and we eat and something left over, we
Yes.
call it njogana.
Yes.
Sometimes I do see some women, they will heat it again, which is
Yep.
very true, to kill the bacteria. But
That's true.
some just give it to the kids like that.
Yep. And that's not
You
good.
don't want to see, yeah, and they will just take the rice, even if you keep the rice, and then
Yep.
for like and 50 minutes or 30 minutes where bacteria already come to play, maybe the bacteria is in the food, and then they will just give it to the kid like that.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So
Well,
what rest on that? Because it's happening every time in our community. But rest on that? In society, they do that. Some they hit like tangle rare. I
yeah.
agree. They hit the rare and because
Yeah.
it's good. Some might not be thinking about bacteria, but some might be saying, okay, I just want the food to be hot. But they might not know the importance.
The importance.
But
Yeah.
some will just say, okay, just give it to me like that and so on. Because I believe for me, if a food is there stagnant for how many minutes, I have to reheat it again.
Yep.
Yeah. So buttress more on that because in our society we do
Good.
that. We give the boys or the
That's good.
kids
That's good.
food like that.
I think I think at this point we need to open this up to more interaction and questions and answer session, or
Right, 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 right,
comments and things
right,
like
right.
that, because otherwise I'll be the only one talking, and I don't want that.
Right, right. The only reason why
Yep.
is we didn't want to
Yep.
just interrupt you, but now we can come to that phase where
Yeah, we can come to that phase.
I have some question myself
Good,
too.
good. All right, let me address this. Mrs. Boyd, thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. So, and if you remember in my conversation, I said the flow of food has 9 steps. One of those 9 steps, I said reheating. Reheating is the key there. Even though our parents may not have gone to school,
Your,
but
your
they know
voice your
to.
voice goes down sometime. I don't know if it is me or yeah.
Oh, really?
Huh?
For me, it's
All right.
clear.
All right. It's clear for you. Okay, and
Okay.
it must be you.
There must be me then. Okay, go
So
ahead.
yeah. So the good thing in us, our parents know to reheat food. Sometimes, like Mrs. Boyd said, some people don't know the reason behind reheating food before you serve it. Bacteria grows well in favorable conditions, and this is where I was going to get to. I haven't got there yet, but which is good. The reason I said hot food need to stay hot and cold food need to stay cold, because anything between hot and cold is what's considered temperature danger zone. Temperature danger zone that is favorable for bacteria to grow. So if you don't have food in a hot pot, or you don't keep it hot, but it's not cold enough for refrigerated temperature, in fact, it's a requirement. Cold food need to be kept at 41 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Hot food, every food need to be cooked at their own different internal cooking temperature. But once it's already cooked, now you need to hold it as hot food for people to come eat. It has to be held at 135 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. And anything between that 41 cold and this 135 hot is considered temperature danger zone. So when we cook food at home in Gambia and we eat our lunch, we let the rest sit out there. In the evening, they warm it up for the kids. The reason behind this is that hot food that now got into cold state, but not cold enough to prevent bacteria, because they're not putting it in the refrigerator. It sits outside. And bacteria grows well 4 hours or more. Anytime you have 4 hours of food sitting on the counter, not on hot fire or not on a hot warmer, and it's not in the fridge, it's just sitting at room temperature, you have 4 hours to prevent bacteria. In other words, bacteria will grow better 4 hours after and more, 4 hours or more. So the moment you allow food to stay in that temperature danger zone for 4 hours or more, there is a chance that bacteria is growing into it. The more time you allow it to sit outside, the more bacteria cells grow, and bacteria multiply themselves every 20 minutes. So if they have one cell in the food, you allow the 4 hours there, one cell grows. In 20 minutes, that one cell will be 1 times 1. Okay, in another 20 minutes, it'll be 2 times 2. That's 4. 4 times 4, 16. 16 times 16. That's how it grows in there until it really infects the whole food. So if that food is not heated up, like I'll come to her point, that food has to be heated up really well to be able to kill bacteria out of that before kids eat it. If you don't heat it up, you just serve it. The people, like you said, there are some women that are lazy. They don't want to take the time to start the fire and heat up the food. They just pass it on the kids because they're kids. They just came from the street,
So,
playing football. So when you pass it on to them like that for food that has been sitting out 4 hours or more, chances are when they eat that, the bacteria is present in that food, they can get sick.
So Sam, quick question. When it comes to heating, which one kills the bacteria quicker and effectively? Is it the microwave or heating on the fire?
Good question. Heating on the fire takes gradual heat to get there. Microwave is faster. But and of course, microwave takes quality of the food away sometimes. That's why people use the regular heating to slowly heat it up until you get to the required minimum internal cooking temperature or heating temperature of that food. But both of them are fine. You can heat food. Anyhow you heat food is okay, as long as you meet the required cooking temperature of that food.
Now
for me, I prefer to take to heat it on the fire.
On the stove. On the fire,
stove,
that is the best thing because you'll get the same good quality.
I put it in the oven so that it can heat gradually. But microwave, I do it if I want to take a freezer or I want to do something quicker to eat, like noodles or something.
Right.
Even noodles, I have to use the fire sometimes.
Microwave heating, the thing about microwave heating is if you put food in the microwave, you need to heat it up all the way to 165 degrees, as if you're cooking it, to get to that temperature, because the food in the microwave most of the time is not being mixed or stirred to spread the heat out evenly. So you want to heat it, you have to heat it all the way to 165 to be able to get the heat all the way in there and kill every bacteria. But it's okay to use microwave. It's just that you lose quality.
Right. So talking about the frozen part. You said that when the food is frozen to a certain degree, it kills the bacteria. So since these temperatures that you're saying, we are not we don't have any device at home. Actually measure this. How do I know is over 200 heating system or is below, freezing this thing? What do I do to do that?
That is a good question. That is a very good question. Well, first of all, I'll take the heating and the frozen stage and the cooling stage separate. Anything that's frozen, of course, is solid. It's frozen like ice. Bacteria cannot grow in that. So period. Even if you don't know how to measure, you don't need to measure frozen stuff. All you need to make sure is frozen solid. Like you can knock it and it feels like you're knocking on ice. That's frozen. Bacteria will not grow in that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's completely safe.
What about the heating?
But the heating part, good.
So before we go to the heating part, if it is cold, it's not
cold
frozen.
Is in the refrigerator.
Right. If it is cold, it's not frozen.
Right.
Bacteria can still get in there?
Bacteria can get in there depending on how cold it is. If your refrigerator is set, let's say at like 30, let's say 34 degrees, and you fill it up with food, it can hold the food at 41 degrees. So 41 is the cutoff line. 41 degrees or lower. When you have food at 41 degrees or lower, it's a bacteria will not grow in that unless you keep it there for way too long. And also, there is a 7-day guideline on food that goes in the refrigerator. If it's not frozen, keep in mind you have 7 days in the refrigerator.
This works very. This is so true.
Yes.
Because the reason why I'm particular about this area. Because in the perception of people is that when food is in the in the fridge, right, is good. It doesn't matter what time.
Not always good. Well,
what I saw, and then with myself, putting food in there. If I forget a food that goes beyond 7, going towards 2 weeks,
it gets mold.
Even though it's in the cold stage.
Yes.
It get either molded or smell bad. Or something happened. So that means that at that time it passed the guidance in 7 days.
7 days is the cutoff line. Any food that you put in the fridge, if you can just time it 7 days, after 7 days, it may not be safe to eat. Some will still be okay. It all depends on the food and what it was made with. All right.
So some
But
will be
7 days.
okay because you probably by the look of it,
Yeah.
or by the taste of it.
Yes.
Usually I
You
do
can
this.
tell. Yep. And taste it. Yeah, check it.
Taste it,
Yeah.
and if it is milk or something, I'll put it in a
Yeah.
small container entitled. Then that way it doesn't. I
Yeah.
don't
Try to
swallow
taste
it.
it first.
I can
Yes.
throw it away.
Yep. 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 So yeah, that's very important because
yeah. So that being said, does this apply to dairy food also? Milk
yes,
and all kind of food. And what about water?
water is water is not is fine. It's not mixed with anything, and it's not mixed with any chemicals or anything. Water is fine. You can leave water even at room temperature. You don't have to refrigerate.
So anything else?
As long as the bottle cap is still closed and locked in and sealed, water can stay at room temperature. Water is one of those things. You see, there are some things that has to be stored cold, some stuff that need to be stored frozen, and there are some that are allowed to sit at room temperature, like water and canned goods. Canned goods, as long as they're not open, they can be at room temperature,
Canned goods.
70 degrees so. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
For instance, you have a water, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a bottle of water you drink like your own kid, or
Yep.
sometimes us, we drink and then we spit in the bottle without noticing. Some kids they do that because my elder one will drink and then put everything what he was eating inside the water, and he might put it again,
Yes.
drink it again. So that's why I always monitor him. If he drinks, I pour the bottle because I don't want him to drink it again. Because so from there, what contain the substance that is inside the water that contain sometimes. Do bacteria come to play or not? And also, for instance, as an adult, you make a juice.
Juice.
You drink the juice, yes, you drink the juice, you drink it from the bottle, you put it down. You wait till another time, you put it down. Because bacteria, they are very fast.
Yes.
So in that situation also, what can you say? Or how can you treat that situation with regards to that?
The best treatment will be anything that you open in the first place. Once it's open, refrigerate. If you refrigerate, you will stop the growth of bacteria for at least 7 days. So 7 days, you use the 7 days as guideline. Yes, it is true. Kids will open a bottle and drink, and then some will come out of their mouth. Even the food that they were eating will go back into the bottle. That is okay. That's normal. That little piece in there is not going to cause them to get sick with that because that's something that's already went into their mouth. And of course, our mouths have bacteria in our mouth too, but that is so little that will not cause that. And most of the time, what saves us is that water bottle will be gone within 24 hours. So as a result, it will not allow any bacteria to grow.
Yeah. So another question here.
Yes.
I observed this from the cooking in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You open it is laughing because this is their area. You open the tomato paste, right?
Yes.
You didn't completely use it.
Yes.
You don't have any container to put it.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So I always, I don't know where I get this idea from or whatever. I always feel like it's not safe, probably, to leave it in that, in that tomato, in that can, because the can is already open.
Yep.
Even if I put it in the fridge, is that something, is that something to worry about, or should I just take it completely and put it in a different container and fridge it?
You can, but you don't have to, because the can was made with special material to allow that food to be in that tomato paste to be in it. So, and the only thing is, once you open it and you didn't use all of it, it needs to be refrigerated.
Okay,
that's
but it can still stay in that can.
It can still stay in there. Just keep it refrigerated to stop any bacteria from growing. However, when you go past 7 days, you may see mold growing in there. And if you think about it, I said the three hazards to food safety: bacteria, biological hazards, chemical hazard, and physical hazards. Mold is part of the biological hazards, and I broke that down to 4, which is bacteria, virus, parasite, and fungi. And mold is fungi. So fungi will grow into food. That is their time to come and grow. When you have food in, even though in the refrigerator, past the 7 days, they will start to grow in there and destroy it.
So let me ask you something. How, before Sainey comes, how does all this fungi, bacteria, where do they come from? I mean, like because the fridge is closed, there's no air going inside.
How did they get in there? Yeah.
Not only that, it's cold. Like I wouldn't be able to stay there even an hour. But still, these things find a way to develop, to be creative there. How is that? Can you give us a visual or like a way scientifically how this thing develops?
Yeah, well, so is this a perfect example is if we compare human beings to fish. Human beings, when we go into the water, in the river, you go down in the river. I mean, you can only stay there too long before you need to breathe, right? You have to come out to breathe. How does the fish breathe in the water? They stay in the water forever, and they can breathe there because they are made that way. That is part of their body. So bacteria, virus, and fungi, that's part of them too. That's how they are. They grow in certain conditions and they cannot grow in certain conditions. So the conditions that they can grow are the conditions that we call the temperature danger zone, for example. If we can eliminate and stop them from getting to that, that's how we avoid them from going there. But other than that, it's just the natural part of the food that will turn into mold. The mold will grow into it as part of their nature. It's just nature.
That's so they come from the food itself, or they come from somewhere?
They come outside of the food and grow mold in the food. That's how it is. They grow in it, just like that.
They come from the food. Everything that grows has a seed, right? Has a place, a source where it comes from. Do they develop from the food, or do they develop from the surrounding?
They develop from the food.
So food has bacteria, food has invisible bacteria embedded in them.
Correct. That's why I said the food. That's why it has to be kept in certain temperatures.
So most people don't know
allow them to grow.
Most people don't know that. They don't know that food has embedded bacteria. But when it gets to those dangerous zones, temperature zone, that's when
they grow. Yeah, that's when they come out, and that is their time to grow. Yeah, it's just like you take peanuts and rice and kush, and you plant them in the soil. The moment you put water on them, you keep watering, giving them that condition to grow, they will come out. So bacteria will grow in food in that same situation.
I mean, it's nature. It's nature.
It's nature. Yeah, it will. Nature allows them to grow if we give them the time. That's why we say time temperature abuse. When it's time temperature abuse, anything that's time temperature abuse, you abuse the amount of time that you're allowed to have that outside, which is 4 hours in most cases, or you allow them the favorable temperature, which is the temperature danger zone. Anything between 41 degrees cold or 135 degrees hot. Anytime you have food in that zone, you're allowing them to breathe and grow and then start multiplying themselves until they destroy the food. They will cover the whole food. For mold, you will see it. Yeah, mold will come out to a point where you will see the mold covering the food.
I've seen some of them, man. I've seen
you will see that. Just like the perfect example you gave, tomato. If you open a tomato paste can and you use some and leave the header half and leave it in the fridge, if you leave it there for 2 weeks, you come and open that can, you take the cover off, you're gonna see mold.
I seen that. I forgot food in the fridge. I seen that. Yeah. So Sainey can comment, but I would like to also for us to look at the food handling. In terms of like from hands to hand and how they are prepared, especially back home when they talk about tapalapa, the notion that I got when I was in the 1990s, that they would take a baby and or a little kid and wash their feet and make them step on the tapalapa, which is all it was all hearsay.
Is that how they make tapalapa? Really?
Well, I mean that was the notion that we used to have.
Oh, I see.
But I know that might not be the case. But our people are not using gloves, when they are making these things. That one is factual. Yes. And not only that, when they're ready, when into that oven comes out, the papers that they use, newspapers from the West, you know, this you use papers that sometimes were thrown. Nobody knows how many bacteria or how many but it's how many
can be on them,
spit on them or whatever.
Yeah.
We use that to hold food and put food that are ready to eat. This is a bothersome to me. I mean, and then I believe that it's transmitting a lot of diseases like hepatitis C, things that certain sickness that you can get transmitted, you know, touching fruits or touching, you know, ready to eat foods. So I want you to look at, you know, like you guys can also elaborate on that food handling and preparation.
Yeah. Food handling is very important. That's why in America, any restaurant owner is required. This is mandatory. There's no excuse. Anywhere you go in the United States, every restaurant owner and the general managers have to take what we call ServSafe, the food safety. It's called Food Protection Manager Certification. They have to go through that and take it so they know how they can manage their people to handle food. Then on top of that, that's the advanced level that they will take. Then the workers that work, the employees that work with food as food handlers, also will be taken. Those are not required, but in some counties and states will require them to also take food handler course. Food handler course is like 4-hour course. That gives them just the basics. All right. So this is why those are done. And then unfortunately, Gambia, we don't have that. However, the part that saves us, like I said earlier, in Gambia, even that tapalapa bread that they may have made it with their hands not even washed. Even if they stamp their food on it and then mix it all with their food and all that stuff, the bottom line is at the end of that, when they're finished, they put it in a very hot oven that's over 400 degrees hot. The oven is what kills every bacteria that's on that. So when it comes out safe already for people to eat. Now, the food handlers using that newspaper, that's the key question. Newspaper is not food. It's not something bacteria can easily develop and multiply themselves on newspaper. Or fungi, mold cannot grow on newspaper. However, virus, when someone has some kind of virus illness from virus infection from virus, and they touch their face, they cough in their hands, they blow their nose and not clean their nose or not wash their hands, and touch newspaper, that's when the virus will get on that newspaper. And if you put bread on that, and somebody take that bread and eat that bread is ready to eat food now. Remember, it was cooked already, was baked, and came out safe. So now it's ready to eat food. That virus can get on that. Same thing with bacteria. That person that shopkeeper that is selling that bread, if they have diarrhea, or they have running nose, or they are vomiting, or they have some kind of illness, fever, and they did not properly wash their hands and touch that newspaper, then grab your bread and put it on it, they can contaminate that bread and make it. But without any form of contamination, bread on the newspaper is still not good, is not hygienic, is not sanitary, because newspaper has been in all kinds of hands, in all kinds of places. There is a chance that something can be on the newspaper. It's not sanitary. In America, you and I know, you all know that nobody's going to put their food in the newspaper and sell it. I mean, the health department will shut you down for why would you put it on newspaper? There are certain type of wrapping papers that have to be used for that. And they come in sealed boxes that cannot be contaminated. The newspaper is not allowed. In Gambia, of course, they use that because they can't afford to buy, they don't have a supplier that will supply them all of those and food handling papers. And not only that, it will not be cost effective for them to be buying that to wrap food in it, but they use the newspaper. But the question is, the food handler himself is the one that will contaminate that newspaper and serve it to people. So there is a chance that a smaller percentage of people are getting sick from the newspaper because of the food handler, the person that sold them the bread. That's where that will come.
Thank you. Madam, Madam has some
yes.
Yeah, Sam, you make great points. This is a very healthy discussion. And is really educative. I think people have to really learn from this and they know things. Okay, just Mr. Sawaneh, what he was saying concerning the tin. For me, I think if I normally do that. If I buy the big tin for tomato paste, if I take it out, I have a special bowl. If I'm ready, I have to put it there, or I put it on a Ziploc and I freeze it. Anytime I need it before cooking, I will take it out so that it can defrost so that I can use it. Those are common sense. Those are common sense to do because you're gonna open a tin and then take what you want and then throw the tin again. It's not even safe because it's so sharp. It's not even safe. So the best thing you can do,
you're right.
The best thing you can do, take it out. Put it because we women sometimes we're very lazy. We do those things. We just
I was gonna say that.
and put it back.
Cause that. Listeners cause we have to take it out.
Yeah.
The handling of cutting, taking everything around with the spoon could be time consuming. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. For me, that's what I would do.
That's what
that's what I always do. Or if you cannot do that, buy a tin that will only serve for the purpose of the cooking. Like you can use it only for the cooking. Then you throw the tin. Then you throw it. But you don't have to be using it. It's just like common sense to do those things. That's why it's important if you don't have a bowl or you eat a food. For instance, even you eat a food. If I eat lunch with my kids, around the surrounding, I will take out all those ones and then put it in the bin. And then the remaining one, I'll put it in the bowl and then freeze it. Maybe if I want to use it, then I can use it. Because sometimes if you put food in the fridge, it will take some time. It will not be good anymore because you cannot use it. But if you freeze it, then that one is better. You use it anytime you want to have it. But sometimes if you freeze it, the substance that you need from the food, you cannot have it anymore. For instance, let's say this thing, cassava. If you freeze cassava to a certain time, if you boil the cassava will never have that taste of cassava anymore. So the best thing is you, like you said, like 7 days, you have a period of time that you have to freeze it. So for me, also, what Tawane was saying about this tapalapa thing, I think for here, that's where the government have to come to play. Food and safety nutrition. Because if you see today, America, you don't dare to have a restaurant to do certain things.
Nope.
Because the laws are there.
Yes.
You violate them, you face the consequences. But if we try to, it involves a lot of things attached. Because back home, what we have to push through is you have to follow the rules no matter what happened. There's no maslaha in it. If you maslaha the rules, then you're spoiling everything. You don't maslaha the rules. All these street vendors, you see the way they are demolishing all this road to have a clear road for people to pass. That's how they have to do operation, no selling street food in a sense that, because many people are getting sick of such. I want to sell chicken, my chicken will not be, many people will not buy my chicken. And then tomorrow I have to come here, heat it again. And then people go home, eat it, and their stomach. They start getting sick. And many people based on negligence. That's why I said, we have these restaurants, sometimes go like food and safety. Recruit. There are university students who are there who are not having a job. Recruit them who learn food and safety. These hotel schools and so on. Recruit them. Tell them, look, we want to hire people who will go and learn about food safety. We will dispatch you people, go to restaurants, go to supermarkets, go where the street vendors are selling. Ask them if you're selling this and that and that. Because if that's not happening, trust me, I see it only here in school, like a teacher will go and sell in pancake, bring it into the school. You dare not do that here. There's a canteen responsible for that because they respect the food safety of a child. You people don't know how you cook it in your home. They don't know. So the best thing that you can do is there should be supposed to be. You see, Sam, we have a long way to go.
Very long way to go.
Government, these students or the schools or the principals need to put a legacy in a sense that if you have these canteens, make sure monitor them, bring very qualified cooks. Them say, look, this is your responsibility. That the kids needs to eat something very okay. They don't even have to line like they are giving out charity. They have to be in their own classrooms, find something. These are not expensive things to do. These are very basic things to do. Just gather your phones. You have PTA, you have parents. Tell them, look, it's important. Even safety about this sanity thing. We see kids leaving the school, going to their houses just to have ease themselves in the toilet. The school toilets are terrible because why? Because there's no monitoring
System. Yeah, no
mechanism.
plumbing.
Yeah, very good structure to monitor those things. It does not happen. Even our own place of going for treatment, we don't have a clean toilet. You imagine you going somewhere to treat yourself to be good, to treat yourself to be healthy. That place is not healthy.
Yep. Yeah.
So
That's
how
it.
will you justify these things?
Yeah.
How?
It's a challenge. That's a great point. Great points there. That's why I like this conversation. So, because the more you guys talk, the more it opens up our mind to some things as well. You know, we first of all, Gambia, we don't have the structure. You think about in the United States, there are institutions responsible for food safety. It all starts with the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, that writes the food code. They write the recommendation for food code with their scientists and all that stuff. When they write the food code, that food code is what they pass, and that's from the federal level, because it's FDA, right? Food and Drug Administration. So when they write the food code, they pass it on to all 50 states. The same food code goes to the 50 states. Now, the states adopt that food code, they take it and make it their own. Some will even add their own stuff to it to make it even more tougher. Some will just adopt what FDA gives them and take that. So you have FDA. We also have CDC, which is Center for Disease Control and Prevention. You also have USDA, which is the United States Department of Agriculture. And then you have your local health departments and counties that are all together enforcing food safety. That's what we don't have in Gambia. This is why it can be enforced everywhere in the United States. But in Gambia, we have food safety and quality assurance, one agency that's doing this. And they are not staffed enough and have transportation to be able to cover the whole country. So that's why there's a lot of deficiencies in there. They can't go everywhere. They cannot cover everywhere. They have people all over, places, but they are also limited. Some of them have motorcycles to go over. But I mean, think about it. It's a big geography that they have to cover, and they can only go so far to some places. So, with that said, the other part is, monitoring what really happens everywhere, especially when it comes to public safety. You will see supermarkets, restaurants, and all of that. Oh boy, I didn't realize time is flying. Wow, we are way into this here.
Yeah. We
Unfortunately,
can
I'll have to.
we just have few more and
Yeah, let's wrap this quickly. Today I have to host my call at 1:30 and it's 1:25.
yes.
Unfortunately, it's a hometown call, but anyway, right. So there's a lot of stuff that happens there. Restaurants and fast foods and supermarkets that are selling expired food, and people covering expired expiration dates and putting their own stamps on it, which are all illegal. There's a lot of things that are happening in the Gambia that are illegal, but who is catching them? The right people are either not catching them or they're catching them and letting them go by, which is wrong. That things like that shouldn't be happening in Gambia. There's a lot of things we have, Mrs. Boyd said, Gambia, we have a long way to go, and I said a very long way to go because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I have during my visit in Gambia this year in March, I got an opportunity to stop at the Food Safety and Quality Assurance Office and met with the Director General, Mr. Bah, and we talked about some things that I can help them with. And I promise that I will help them. The next time I come to Gambia, I'll work with them and we'll start somewhere. everything starts somewhere, and hopefully I can pass some of my knowledge to them and help them to get to some level that I'm willing to do that. I made that promise and I will fulfill that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Sam, I know you have to step up for something, but two things that I wanna, few things, and we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Eating together
Mm-hmm.
as families.
Yep.
You know, we use our hand and we use in the table. I mean, like
Yep.
we use in a bowl.
Yep.
That's very common in our culture.
Very common. Yes.
So once we eat. I'll put our mouth and we put it in the food.
Yep.
So, and usually, I mean, it's okay for us in the,
Yep.
from the African culture,
Sure.
but some other people might see that as not, hygienic.
Yeah. It can.
So,
Bless
two
you.
things there.
Yeah. So
When you have a leftover of that, from
food.
eating like that,
Yeah.
is it also okay to, eat that leftover that everybody has shared the hand and then
Yeah.
leftover? So that's
This.
another thing in terms of, like,
Yep.
bacteria, or in terms of transmission of anything.
Yep. Yep. The safest thing is if we have to eat, anybody has to eat that leftover, it needs to be reheated. Reheat it
Okay.
to meet at least 135 degrees. Reheat it to 165 is the best idea. That way, any bacteria in there will be killed. It will be still.
Any bacteria or virus will be killed.
Yeah. It will be killed. Now, for people sitting together and eating together, put their hands in there, which is fine. Now, the problem is if you have a sick person. The sick person is the one that is going
But
to make.
sometimes you don't know who's sick.
You don't know who's sick. Well, some illness is obvious, and when people are sick, it's best to just put their own plate, make their own plate or bowl, and hand it to them to eat by themselves, not with.
Okay. Okay.
Because
So my other question is, because I want to make this fast. Frozen, defrost, and does that lose the quality of the food, or the quality,
No,
or the or the taste of the food, or does it take away anything from the food? And also,
not necessarily.
can you defrost the food, take some out, and then freeze it back again?
Yeah, the best advice from food safety is if I did that just this past weekend. I went and bought some lamb, and what I did is because I know I'm gonna freeze it, I cut into chunks and save what we can cook
At a
at
time.
one go and at a time in different Ziploc bags. So when I'm cooking, I'm grabbing one bag, or when we're cooking, we're grabbing one bag and we're cooking all of it. But it's not good to defrost and then refreeze it. That's not good.
Okay, that's good. Very good information, because I thought about that. And I think my wife told me that too. That was not good. So another one is wells, the wells that we drink from.
Yep.
From the provinces and all of that, or wherever you are. Some people drink from river. Like when I was in Armitage High School, we used to drink from the river. Can you believe
from the river? Yep. I did
water.
that too. Yes.
Yeah. So does these things need to be treated, like being boiled?
Generally, yes. Water that did not go through water treatment centers should be really boiled first and then drink. The reason why people are getting away from it is most of the time is safe because there was no infection, even though they don't know whether there's any infection or not. But people can get infected from contaminated water. Yes, you can be infected from a contaminated water. I'll give you a perfect example, even though I'm out of time now. A perfect example, there was a salmonella outbreak in the United States. And what they found out when CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, did their research, they found out that was the salmonella outbreak came from lettuce that was harvested in the West Coast, and then by some farm, and the farm workers used contaminated water that was contaminated with sewage. They used that water to wash the lettuce, and unfortunately, we don't cook lettuce. So when people ate it, bought it from the stores and ate it, they ate the contaminated lettuce with salmonella, and they got salmonella in it. So it became a salmonella outbreak. So water, a contaminated water, is bad for people. If it's not contaminated with anything, and of course we don't know that. Drinking from a well or drinking from the river, you don't know whether it's contaminated or not. If you're lucky, it's not contaminated. If it's contaminated, you will get sick.
Okay. All right. So Sainey, I will let Sainey Sainey come. If he has anything, then we can just wrap it up. I know you have to go. Yeah.
My time is up to start my hometown call today.
Yeah.
So,
yes. Sorry about that. I totally
we didn't start early. You know,
yeah. Sainey, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So Sam has to go to the another call, but
unfortunately.
Yeah, if you can just wrap it up for us, please.
Yeah. Today is a very wonderful discussion. And for me, I'm happy that we are having this kind of thing. We are taking our own time, spending our own time just to, talk about issues that are really, really helpful in our society and helpful in our only daily lives. Most especially food and safety. Most especially we women really need to be talking about. I don't know sometimes whether we can do this kind of program or this kind of program through our local languages, so that people, I don't know whether Sam can speak Wolof or he's very good with Wolof, or because I know
Wolof is not as good.
Okay, I don't know, maybe he can be talking about it.
Mandinka is good.
Yeah, then finish then, because some of us can speak in Wolof, for the benefit of people also who want to listen to this and they cannot speak English, and they want to hear, because this is a very important thing. And most of the time, food and safety, most especially we women at home, how we have to take care of our kids, because most of the time some kids, they will have some bacteria in their mouth and so on. So this topic, we are not stopping here.
No, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back.
I think let's bring it back in a local language sometime.
Yes.
Then we can.
Next week, I'm fine with it. Next week is fine. We can bring it back. If we have another topic, a hot topic, we can talk about that, and then bring a little bit of food safety at the end.
But I think food safety, there is no hot topic that we can talk about. That food safety.
Or days that we don't have any topic, we'll bring food safety in local language.
Because we are always eating. We are always eating.
Every day.
We always eating, We always
thank you all, though. Let's
thank you thank you, Sainey, for bringing that up. And definitely we'll revisit this in our local language next week.
Absolutely.
I think that would be very important. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Sam, for your expertise.
No problem.
This.
We'll do it again.
Thank you for bringing up the topic and then be here with us.
It's a very wonderful discussion. I'm happy with the discussion. Thank you.
Take care.
Have a nice time.
All right, you too. Take care.